Hello, I'm going to talk about health and safety as a dyspraxic. This kind of tickles me a little bit, which is like for a while I used to work in health and safety and I was quite good at it, and that's quite funny because you know, as a dyspraxic we usually have quite a lot of accidents but the sort of accidents that we have as dyspraxics, they can be kind of like freak accidents. It's like you couldn't have planned around that because there's no way you could have realised you could have such a ridiculous accident. But I think this is something that we have a capacity to be really good at. So part of the reason is that when we sort of like move into a space, we have to be quite aware of where everything is because we're going to just like try and find our way around it and try not to like fall over and try and like not have accidents. So I think that's why we tend to be quite good at spotting what could go wrong for somebody. So like I said, I don't think we're necessarily the ones that have the typical kind of accidents, but maybe some of us are. But we could see, like, look at the space and then think, well, that could happen and then that could happen, and then, you know, I'm not a fan of like health and safety gone mad and gone really far with this stuff, but if you need someone to do it, then you could ask a dyspraxic to like list this out, how this could be a hazard. I think we could probably point things out for you and help you with that. So I think some of us, because we have different sort of abilities in our senses, which I've mentioned briefly, and some of us don't have, let's say, good eyesight, for example. But for me personally, I think I have quite a heightened awareness of what's around me visually because I need it, because I'm dyspraxic, so I rely on it a lot. And I realised a few years ago, I think that's why I'm afraid of the dark, because you can't use it in the dark, so there's just more chance that you're going to die because you just might fall over something and not, I don't know, just a bit seems a bit scary to me. And then, what else can I say about this? Because I'm going off on a sidetrack about senses now. Oh well, never mind. So I'll just briefly touch on like hearing. And again, I have a dyspraxic friend who has a lot of deafness, so it's not always that these things go hand in hand, but I think my sense of hearing, like some of my senses are really poorly developed, and like it's called, sometimes they call it a spiky profile, which is when you're like really strong in some areas and then absolutely ridiculously terrible in some other areas in your abilities. And I think my hearing's really sensitive, and when I was at primary school, I couldn't catch what people were saying, and I kept missing things and not understanding and not knowing what to do, even though I sort of should be able to understand what to do. Depending on the level of difficulty, that I should be able to do that level, but I couldn't understand it, I couldn't like catch things. So I actually like started to think maybe I'm deaf because my mum was deaf and my nana was deaf, and I asked my mum, I went to the extent of actually approaching my mum about this, and as a non-speaker this must have been quite, it was really playing on my mind, and she arranged for the school to do a hearing test, and it came back that my hearing was like absolutely perfect. It was like spot on, really brilliant. And I think, and now I know that the reason is that, because I still don't actually hear things, it's a kind of part of sensory processing disorder and part of my slow processing speed. So when someone's talking, I could hear the words, and I could even repeat the words if I'm just doing an example, but I don't know what it means. So like hearing it and then understanding it is two different things. And then also we have trouble with like following like a list of instructions. So if somebody gives us two tasks but they don't let us do the first one first, then they just give us both at once and then say, right, get on with it. I don't know anymore because I've forgotten what the first one was. So then I always have to put my hand up and like try and find out what we're supposed to do, and get kind of giggled at by the teacher because they thought, well, you should be able to do this, but I couldn't because of the inability to sort of like follow more than one step at a time and keep it in my mind because of the working memory issues. So the hearing thing, my hearing was actually really good, but then when someone talks, it's quite awkward because when if they're trying to tell you something or you're having a conversation, then quite often it's almost kind of like you zone out, because I'm not zoned out, but I'm just still understanding the first bit of what they've said. So if they're still talking, then it might be too late by then, and I just have to sort of like rewind and just say like, sorry, can you just do that whole bit again? And again, with my children nowadays, like in my adult life, sometimes they might say something to me and then I have to say, sorry, but can you just say that again because I forgot to listen. Let's say if I ask them a question and then but then I get distracted somehow and they answer it. I can hear it because they're right next to me, but if I forget to listen to it, then I don't actually know what it was. So then I have to say like, sorry, can you just say that again? I forgot to listen. That happens quite a lot around here. What was the other thing I was going to say about the children bit? Listening and they have to get my attention. I mean, this is a basic communication skill, by the way, but like before you talk to somebody, you should check that they're available to listen to you. So you should sort of like call their name or like get their attention somehow or however it is, and also see if they're sort of like, are they okay for you to say the thing? Are they available for that? And then but on top of that, I sort of like really need somebody to get my attention, like my children around the house. They can't just sort of like start recounting something about school because you've already lost me. Like you need to sort of like get me first so I can take myself out of what I am doing and then I can listen, and then I'm going to listen. So that's how that works. All right, thank you.